Yep. Okay, hi, hello.
Hi.
Very excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much.
My name?
Hey, I'm Jace Courrier.
Okay. Let's start with your name and your character. This is the worst part right here.
I know. I'm 𝘃𝑔𝘁𝘴𝘪𝘤.
Jace Courrier.
I am playing Jen.
I play John Tracy in Apple Alley Players production of John and Jen. I would say the score of this show is what started it all. I heard the score a couple years ago.
It was like 3 years ago, I think, which is crazy.
I fell in love with it right away.
We were actually, I think, just looking at different shows that we might want to do one day, and you just kind of happened upon John and Jen.
And I knew that it was something that I really wanted to be a part of at some point. At the time, I didn't think that I was quite ready to take on a show like this. After having been through a semester of college, I felt like I was ready.
It's funny because the song that you showed me first is a song that's actually not in the score anymore, but it was in the original production called Dear God, and it was hilarious, and it was just like about a brother and a sister not being able to stand each other, and it was just a really funny format. And
you came to me and said that this was the time to do it, and I felt like this was the time to do it.
I feel like we've always kind of had like a brother-sister sort of relationship anyway, and so that song I think in particular was like really appealing, of like, oh my gosh, we should do this one day.
It was the main selling point for me.
Run and hide.
Run and hide at the end of Act 1.
John and Jen are fighting with each other after like years of this tension sort of building up.
All building to that moment, and then you finally hit that moment.
Everything just kind of comes out.
And it's like, okay, we're here.
It's kind of a relief to perform it, I think, once we get there.
The emotions are so heightened in that song.
As an actor, it's kind of a relief to finally say all of those things that the characters haven't been saying to each other, even though those things are really hard to hear.
I think that it's so fun to play that, and it's so easy to play that, especially off of you.
Being able to explore different avenues of how we approach that number and upping the ante a little bit each time we do it, trying to find the places to build that intensity and then to bring it back down. That's been a really cool process. Just from an acting perspective, is when you show up and smile of your dreams, and you say lines as Act 1 John, Act 2 John, and then you say lines that are kind of just out in the ether.
We, as a team, had kind of talked about the direction we wanted to go with that, and whether it was supposed to feel more antagonistic or more vulnerable. And I think that for me, it was just finding the balance between those two and trying to make it feel uneasy, because I think it's supposed to feel a little uncomfortable. In the beginning of the scene, when I first come out saying the lines that I'd said previously, to make it feel a little more uneasy, I deliver them differently than I had before. And then when we get to where he says the line that he says to Jen in the first act, at the lowest he is, kind of bring that back a little bit so that you feel the same kind of emotion you felt in the first act when that line was delivered. And then immediately after, jumping right back to the more antagonistic.
Right after the prologue, it's the Welcome to Our World scene when Jen is 6. It's just me with little John as a baby, like flitting around the stage and singing about not understanding how the world works. I sound like a kid and I'm walking around in these overalls, you know, and a very like vulnerable sort of place to start. And the audience hasn't maybe totally settled into like what the show is yet or anything. It's a hard number for me, especially because I'm the youngest of 3. Learning how to sort of function as an older sister has been an interesting process of a lot of research and looking at my own older siblings and how they functioned when I was young. It's been interesting, but one of the more simple songs in the score is actually one of the harder ones for me to do. Almost all of Act 2 is just Jen making like a bunch of mistakes. Jen in the show really, in an attempt to assuage the mistakes that she feels like she made in Act 1, which was being too distant, she kind of overcompensates for that and makes all of the opposite mistakes and kind of smothers her son. This really weird place to be when you're doing the character. They're acting out 18 years of his life and of being a mom to him. It all happens so fast, and so it does feel sometimes like this is just playing out my worst fears of being a mom and the mistakes that I could make with him, because I do have that tendency to be a little bit of like a helicopter parent.
Act 1 John is so far from myself. The relationship that he has with Jen is nothing like I've ever had before. Just older sister is not something I'm familiar with to begin with. I think that he is very firm in his beliefs. He knows what he believes. It's black and white for him. And I don't think that I'm that way. The way I think is constantly changing and influenced by the things that are going on in my life and what's relevant at the time. I think that he's nothing like that. He knows what he believes and no one can talk him out of that. So yeah, I think that that is a challenge for sure, just because it's not really who I am.
Something that I find really special about the show is that it doesn't really push any particular narrative. It just kind of says, this is what can happen in abusive households, in parents with trauma, in kids growing pains of becoming their own person and finding their autonomy. In that, it doesn't really say, this is how you should parent, or this is the kind of sibling that you should be, or this is how you should navigate things. It just says, this is the way that things happen sometimes. If you love each other and you are willing to give each other grace, there isn't anything that can separate you from your family.
Seeing how it's resonated with people has been really encouraging. It's such a universal story in terms of the relationship between brother, sister, mother, son. So many people have felt that, especially with a kid growing up and seeing this person that you knew when they were small grow into a person of their own. It has connected people who have children, but also people who are my age who have gone to college and who have had to leave home and had to leave their family behind and leave certain situations that they feel like they need to be home for, they need to be there for, and that's something that I connect with a lot.
There's this concept that I had read one time. The writer had talked about theater being this place where time can sort of stop for just a little bit. And no matter what you're doing or what experiences you've had, you can sit in this dark room and watch this other person's experience as a moment in time. And in that moment, you can experience what they experience, that sort of idea of a moment in time being captured and churned into the serum that is given to an audience is really special.
It's a tough show emotionally, especially the first act. Towards the end of the first act kind of hits you really hard. But I think it's really beautiful because the second act, even though it takes a lot to kind of get to that resolution and you don't really necessarily know exactly how it resolves, you do see that through all of these things there is hope. And that family ultimately is one of the most important things, and that bond and that connection is always there. That's kind of what I take from it and what I hope that most people kind of feel and connect with.